I want to share with you how to use the trucking, accounting, and tax deduction spreadsheet that I built. I sell this on Etsy and also on my website. If you're interested, check out the link in the description. If you purchase this item on my website, it's a little bit cheaper and you get 10% off. So check out the link in the description. I am a certified public accountant or a CPA, and I've have more than 10 plus years in the accounting industry, and I worked in taxes as well. So I built this spreadsheet from a very accounting perspective and from what I learned preparing taxes for almost a whole year. So with that being said, I want to say a disclaimer real quick. So if you purchase and use this spreadsheet, it is just for informational and educational purposes only. It's intended to serve as a tool to help you organize your income and expenses. It is not professional advice, and you are solely responsible for the accuracy and completeness of the data that you enter into the spreadsheet and to verify the information in the spreadsheet. So make sure to always consult a qualified professional before making any financial decisions or filing your taxes, right? So after we get that out of the way, and let me just show you all the tabs that you will be getting when you purchase this item. And what we'll do is I'll explain to you each of the tab and what it does, and then from there we'll do an example so you can see how the data flow. Okay. So you'll get 10 tabs, and the first tab is the tax guide tab. So here it just gives you some information about per diem and how you can deduct these per diem expenses, and what are the method that you can choose from. And then if you have a truck, or you own a truck, or you lease a truck, you can deduct them as well, but there are differences in what you can deduct depending on if you own it or if you lease it. So I have a table here that kind of summarizes this information. And then I also talk about other common tax deduction for truckers as well. So you can read this on your own time. And then the next tab is the settings tab. This is where you enter in your company name. It'll flow to all the other tabs in this spreadsheet. And then you can update the yellow cell here to meet your business needs. So it'll be easier for you to fill out the other parts of the spreadsheet. So you can just select from a drop-down menu instead of typing everything in. So just make sure to update the yellow cell according to your business needs. Please don't edit the gray cell here, the per diem information, because the spreadsheet need that exact text or description to calculate per diem information. Okay. So the other thing I want to mention is that besides per diem, which is one of the largest tax deduction you can have as a trucker, the other biggest deduction you can have is depreciation if you own your truck. And this template does not handle depreciation calculation. What I mean by that is that if you own a truck, it cannot create an amortization and tell you what your monthly or yearly depreciation is. It cannot handle it. So you might want to work with a tax professional or work with someone to get that information. And depreciation is extremely complex, and it's really it's very different from one trucker to another trucker. So so it's important to work with someone else to get that information. But if you have the depreciation amount, if you know what your depreciation expense is each month, this template can handle it. So you can just come here and create a name that says depreciation, and then you can just enter in your depreciation each month. Okay. Alright, so the next tab is the income and settlement tab. So here is where you'll enter in all of your load revenue or your gross pay, and then all the other pay that you get as well. And then here on the right is where if you work with a carrier or someone and you pay them a certain fee, it'll calculate the fee that you need to pay, and then other deductions that you can enter in here as well. So you can enter in other deductions from your pay that is taxable and non-taxable. Tax deductible and non-tax deductible, and it'll calculate your net payout, right? And then the next tab is your vehicle expense tab here. So this tab here, you can just log, your lease payment, fuel, maintenance, insurance, or lease payment. and just enter the information here and should flow to your financial statement. And again, up here you can see I have a note on depreciation. Depreciation is a significant tax deduction, so make sure if you have a truck, make sure you calculate your depreciation or work with someone to calculate that so you can get the correct tax deduction, right? And then travel and per diem. So here it will help you calculate your per diem and your travel expenses. So for example, if you're traveling and you have to pay for lodging, tolls, parking, scales, you can input that data here. So one of the other largest deductions that you can get as a trucker is per diem deduction. So pretty much you get per diem if you are away from your home base or your home overnight. And so the IRS gives you a rate. So they give you $80 rate as of 2025. If you are full day, for full day per diem, and partial day, 75% of that or $60. And then you can deduct 80% of that amount. So let's say, for example, if you're a trucker and you travel away from home, right, on a full day per diem, 200 days out of the year. So that means what? Like 200 times 80, and then you need to times 80% of that 80, which is 64. So it's 200 times 64 is $12,800. That's how much you can get in tax deduction a year just for per diem. So that's a huge tax deduction benefit that you can get as a trucker. All right. So here it gives you two options that you can use in per diem, or at least the IRS gave you two options. So you can either use the per diem method or the actual expense method. So the per diem method is basically, they give you a rate, and if you travel out of state for a full day, you get $80, and then you can deduct 80% of it. If you travel partial day per diem, you get $60 and you can deduct 80% of that. Okay. So that's the simplest method, which is what this template is optimized for. And then the other method is the actual expense method, which you have to keep track of your every receipt, and then at the end of the year or whatnot, you total all that receipts up and you have that amount, and then you time that amount by 80% of your total cost. So that's a lot of work. So most people, they just do the per diem method, just take the rate and times it by 80%, right? So that's what this template is doing. It just using the per diem method, but you can do the actual expense method if you want. I do have a note on how you can do it, but just a lot more work. And the other thing is that this template is optimized for longevity, so you can use this for multiple years until the year 2050. So that's where I put the cell here as yellow. So if the next year come like 2026 or 2030, you can just enter in whatever the rate the IRS publish is, and then how much you can deduct. And once you enter that information in the template here will help you calculate your per diem. All right. And then the next tab is the miscellaneous business expense, business and miscellaneous expense. So here you can input in, subscription, communication, bank fees, anything that's business related or miscellaneous. And then you can also put the business use percentage. So if you put 100%, or you leave it blank, it knows it's 100%. So for example, this bank fee here, I put 180, and because I left it blank, it just knows that 100% of that goes to the business, right? If you spend $180 in bank fees and 70% of that is related to business, then you can just put 70. So the other 30% will be personal use. It won't be applicable here, only the 70%, all right? And then once you input all this information, all of that data will flow to the financial statement. So you can see it kind of like categorize it. So it'll tell you what the total income you receive, your total deductible expenses, and then your estimated taxes. So this comes from the tax rate. I'll talk to you a little bit later on this tab. But here it'll tell you what the estimated tax is, and it'll tell you your net income after tax. And then here it tells you the breakdown of your deductions, expense deduction here. And you can also click on these plus on the left here to expand it. And because there's no information there, I just close it, okay? But that's an option on the template. Here you can see all these are deductible expenses, and here you can see per diem is broken out by the deductible piece and then the non-deductible piece, right? So the IRS, for example, give you $80 per day, but you can only deduct 80% of it. So for example, in January, you can only take $64 as a deduction, and the other, was it 16 here, is non-deductible, okay? So everything is kind of organized and laid out for you in, whether it's deductible or non-deductible. And here at the bottom here, I have the non-deductible expenses that you can see here, and then I did a reconciliation and cash flow, make sure everything tied to each other. And then it also tells you the net cash flow. So I started out with the net payout, minus all your expenses, deductible and non-deductible, and then you have your net cash flow before tax obligation plus your estimated taxes. Then you have your net cash flow after tax obligation. And you can see this amount here is a little bit different than your net income after tax. That's because of your non-deductible expenses, and that's okay. And I have a little explanation here. So the cool thing about this template and this tab is really the heart of it. It grabs all the data for you. You don't have to do anything. So you just input all your expenses and income, and then all that data will flow here. And the other cool thing about this tab is that you can pick any year. So, you can use it up to 2030 or 2050. And then here you can select any start month. So if your business starts in, March, you can put as March, and it'll move the information to March, right? All right, so just put it back to January. And then this next tab here is where you input in your tax rate. So it'll automatically calculate your estimated tax owed once you input in the rate. So how you get this rate is, you can just go to the IRS website or your state's website and see what income bracket you fall in and put that rate there. And then you can just enter in your Social Security and Medicare tax rate as well. And then once you have those rate entered in, it will flow back to the financial statement as well, and then it will update the estimated taxes for you. And then the other thing about this tab here is you can enter your target deduction and then have some visual, kind of like a mini dashboard here, tell you if you're on track or not. Another cool thing about this tab is that you can, select a drop down menu here, and you can select, any quarter, any year, or any month, and it'll automatically update your total income, expenses, net profit or loss before tax, and then your total estimated tax owed, okay? Then comparative financial statements is basically just the financial statement, but here you can compare any 2 months that you want, right? So you can select any 2 month or any quarter, so you can do a comparison and see your trend. So, it's very helpful to have this as a business owner to see, are you doing better this month compared to previous month as well, right? And then lastly is the dashboard. So this gives you a lot of visual information. So here you can select any time interval you want to see, whether you want to see month, quarter, year to date, and then the dashboard will display data accordingly. All right. So now that I've walked you through all of the tabs and what they do, let's do an example, okay? So when you purchase this item, you will get an Excel file and a Google Sheet file. So I'm showing you this on a Mac, on Excel, and it works the same way on a Windows or Google Sheet. It will look exactly like this Excel, so it's compatible with Excel and Google Sheet. All right. So first thing you need to do is do the settings. So I'm not going to make any changes. I'm good with this. But if you need to make changes, then please make changes on the yellow cell. And here's where we come in and enter in our income and settlement information. So always make sure to enter the date so that this sheet knows what the income or expense is associated with which month, okay? So we'll just do an example, 1/1/2035, and then we'll just do sample customer here. You can put trip ID. Always come up with an example. Let's say Seattle to Miami, Florida. And then let's say gross pay, we got 15,000. Fuel surcharge is 1,000. Other reimbursement is 1,000. And then you can put any notes you want for this, and you can see it automatically calculate your total revenue. So let's say we work with someone, and we need to pay them a fee, Let's say we paid them 25%, so it automatically calculate that fee. And then you have any cash advance, escrow maintenance fund. Let's say, let's do an example, 100 deduction, 200, 300, 400. I'll do the tax deductible is 500, 600. I'm just doing this as an example so you can see it calculates your total net payout, and then here you can put any comments you want. And then vehicle expense here, you just input in your vehicle expense. Okay, just put in the date. You can put your odometer reading, let's say 75,000. Your expense type is here what you can choose here. So just this drop down menu matches whatever the information here on the vehicle expense category. So this is where you set it up. Okay. And here I'll just do fuel, vendor, Chevron, description, fuel, state. You can pick any state you want. So this can also help with IFTA if you needed. So let's just say Arizona, let's say we buy 100 gallon, it's $4 credit card or fuel card. So I'll just say 400, that's tax deductible. And then travel and per diem. So this is where, let's say we travel out of state because we live in Seattle and we're traveling right to Miami, be a few days. So let's see. So I'm going to get per diem. So here, for example, if you select full day per diem, you see automatically it populates, right? So full day per diem amount that you can get per day is $80. And then the per diem deductible per IRS, you can only deduct 80% of this $80. So that means that you can only deduct $64, and then $16 is non-deductible. Okay. Let's see, location. I don't know, maybe see Portland. Or just do Oregon. You won't have a payment method because here, you're not really paying anything, right? Just a per diem that you get for deduction. And let's say on that same day, you get a lodging. You need to pay for lodging. So as you can see, when I selected lodging, this thing pops up as yellow because here it needs me to enter in an amount because this is not per diem related, right? So here, let's say I spend $85 on lodging, okay? And then the next day, let's say as an example, it'll be like a partial per diem that I want to get. So if I selected partial diem, you see partial here, you can see it automatically get the partial amount. So partial rate is 75% of $80, which is $60. And then the per diem deductible is 80% of the $60, $48. And then the non-deductible is $12. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. Pretty cool. Here you can select your payment method. You see, credit card, and then per diem. You can see again it doesn't glow yellow, right? Because you don't need to pay any amount. You're just getting a per diem. But so I hope you know that that trend is pretty cool. So like here you can see if I selected something else, parking, will glow yellow. So you only need to input in amount if it turns yellow, meaning you haven't selected per diem. Okay. All right. Let's just put something for parking. Let me pay $25 parking. Credit card. Okay. And then business and miscellaneous expense. So let's say we just 135 expense category. You can pick anything you want here. Let's say bank fees, and let's say Bank of America. Okay. So let's say we pay $25, and this $25 is all for business. So you can see you can either put 100% here, or you leave it blank. It still knows it's gonna be 100%. But let's say you spend something and some of it is for personal use. So let's say cell phone. Where's cell phone communication? So let's say AT&T. And then it's $100, and we use 70% of this for business. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's $100, and we use 70% of this business, so it knows that you can only deduct what, $70, and then the other 30 is non-deductible. Okay. All right, and then your financial statement here, everything should flow over, right? So as you can see here, see all the information would flow over automatically. So the business expense, which we just did for the communication, as you can see here, for the phone, we said that $30 non-deductible and 70 is deductible, so it automatically flows through. So business non-deductible is 30, and then the deductible communication is 70. So it's pretty cool, right? So it automatically populate the data for you as you enter the information and build you a financial statement. And then per diem, same thing. It automatically knows, which piece is deductible and which piece is non-deductible. Okay, so as you can see here, so let's go over again. So we enter data for January 2035, so it just grabs all the data for January 2035. And the reason why there's no estimated taxes here is because I haven't entered in the rate. But I just want to show you how the information flows after you enter in all your income and expenses. So all the income and expenses flow here already for you. It's already built out, right? Okay, so now we can go here and enter in the estimated taxes. So let's say our federal income tax rate is 20%, maybe state bracket is 15, maybe that's a bit high, 10%, and let's say this is 12% and that's 3% as an example. And you can come back here and you can see it automatically populates your your estimated taxes, federal, state, and self-employment tax, right? So it automatically calculate that for you. Okay, and let's go back to this estimated calculator. So again, if you want to track your target deduction, right? Let's say let's do 8,000, right? And then this one will be 15, and this one 25,000. So as you make your selection here, you can see what your estimated tax is. So for January, we just enter in data for January. You can see here, this is our estimated taxes based on the rate that we input here. So basically, this is our net profit, and then this is our estimated taxes owed. And you can pick, quarter, update. We don't have any data for quarter, so we don't owe anything, right? Year to date, so it'll be the same thing as January. Okay, and then the comparative financial, this might be hard to show you because we only enter in data for 1 month, but we enter in data for January, right? So you can see, let me just pick February so everything will clear out. So if I pick January, you can see when I pick January, it populates the data for January. So you can see here, the ending total tax deduction 6142. We come here, it matches 6142. Okay, we can go up here too. And then we can see that the net income after tax is 5971.90. So here, 5971.90. And then here you also get net cash flow after tax. So there is a variance between these two, and it's normal and expected. The reason is because your net cash flow, it accounts for your non-deductible expenses. But net income, you don't have the non-deductible expenses. So your net income will usually be always higher than your cash flow after tax. All right. And then the dashboard, of course, you can come here and pick any data that you want to look at, but there's not much data here because we only enter in data for 1 month. All right. So let me go back here to the one that's completely filled out so I can show you how the comparative statement looked again. So here on column D, you want to pick the most recent month or quarter. So let's say you do Q2 and then you're comparing it with Q1. The reason why is because the dollar change is taking the current minus the previous, okay, from this column D. So let's just do a spot check. So you can see here, once you select this data, quarter one is, quarter two is 65,979. So you can come here and see your quarter two, right? 69,979, which matches, right? And then 82793, which is quarter one that we selected. So here, 82793.21, so it matches. So I just want to show you it just literally grabbing the data from the financial statement, and then you can see and compare, okay, quarter two versus quarter one. Did I do better in quarter two compared to quarter one? What is my percentage change? Did I get more cash flow or not, right? So that's pretty cool about this comparative financial statement and then this dashboard as well. So the nice thing about this dashboard is that it gives you your net cash flow after tax, your net income after tax, and then you can see your tax savings for the year. And then you can see all your per diem days. How much deductions did you get, right? 15 days, and how much 15 days you got for per diem full, and how much savings did you get, right? And then here your vehicle expense deductions as well, and then your estimated total taxes. So it's a lot of good information, and the cool thing is you can select any one quarter or year to date. So it's really good and very dynamic to have this dashboard. So if you're interested, and I hope this will be helpful to you if you purchase it, please check out the link in the description. If you have any questions or concern, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for watching.